So in 1918, there was a lot going on in the world. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the Great War ended. The H1N1 virus, known as the Spanish flu, ravaged the world and in particular targeted young people. President Wilson released his 14 points. The Boston Red Sox defeated the Chicago Cubs to win the World Series. U.S. unemployment was at 1.4% and a stamp cost 3 cents. And buried under all that, a lesser known but important fact to us men of culture, statistically, we were at peak mustache. Seriously, gents, with 73% of grown men wearing some type of facial hair, 66% chose to wear a mustache. Now, I say chose loosely because there were regulations going on that outlawed beards in certain situations, but if we look back, we can see that there were also trends, mustache crazes going on back in 1899, where 65% of men chose to wear a mustache of the 88% of the total population that sported facial hair. And on a side note, you can see we had peak facial hair in general in 1887, when 96% of men wore facial hair on a daily basis. So based off those numbers, what happened? A century later, we've got less than 30% of men wearing facial hair, and of that, only 2% wearing mustaches. Why did men stop wearing it? So to start things off, let's talk about the history of the mustache. But to do that, we need to first talk about the history of facial hair. Now, since the beginning, men have been growing facial hair. But it wasn't until about 10,000 years ago that we have archaeological evidence that men were actually starting to style their facial hair. Seriously, they were using clams, shells, and rocks to cut and to shape and to pluck facial hair into certain configurations. Later, with the invention of bronze, metals, and crude razors, the Egyptians and other cultures took it to a whole other level, especially for religious reasons. They wanted to have a certain type of look. And let's just say that some of these guys really cared about their facial hair. In fact, in the 14th century, we find knights, their armor was actually made in a way to accommodate their, yes, beautiful facial hair. Seriously, Edward, the Prince of Wales, on his tomb in Canterbury Cathedral, it shows the prince in full battle dress with chainmail encasing his face and neck, but allowing his long whiskers to flow over the top. But it was really the Elizabethan era, and King James I, when he came to the British throne, he was so proud of his dapper mustache that he had basically tons of art made with this. His son, King Charles I, would go on to make the goatee and the handlebar mustache iconic. You got to understand that these rulers at the time were setting the fashion trends. If you wanted to be hip, if you wanted to be in, then you copied what these guys were doing. And that's why Sir Anthony Van Dyck and his portraits that were passed around and the fashion trends that ensued, everybody wanted to have a Van Dyck facial hairstyle. Unless you didn't, unless you wanted to push back, unless you wanted to be a little bit of a revolutionary, like Oliver Cromwell. And we look at his very frugal mustache that he sported. And even after revolutions, the mustache continued to be a symbol of power. King Charles II, he ruled with a mustache from 1660 to 1685. And what's funny is you look at some of these portraits of him in his early teens, notice he's still got that big burly mustache. Yeah, somebody here was brown nosing. Now, gentlemen, if you enjoy videos like this, do me a favor and smash the like button. Seriously, you want me to grow a mustache? I gotta see a whole lot of likes here. Now, really quick, pop quiz. Let's see if you can identify the man behind the mustache. So this first mustache right here, pretty easy, but yeah, I mean, who do you think this is? Guys, it is Charlie Chaplin, not Adolf Hitler. I know some of you guys thought, but here's the thing is that both of them sported this mustache. Charlie Chaplin had it first. Adolf Hitler later on picked this up, and this was actually a pretty popular mustache at the time, but because of the association with Hitler, this is something, unless you're Michael Jordan, you're not going to be rocking it. Next up, this one right here, a little bit more artistic, especially if you like, you like clocks that are melting all over the place. Who is this right here? Salvador Dali. Now this one, we're going back a little bit farther, but very distinctive. Civil War, anybody guess this one? Okay, right here, Ambrose Burnside. Now this one right here, if you were an outlaw and you're in Kansas or maybe Tombstone, Arizona, you see this mustache coming at you, you basically drop your weapons and you just surrender because, yeah, anyone know? Wyatt Earp. Now, what about this mustache right here? This guy works in Parks and Recreation. He's got a pretty cute but weird secretary. And yeah, he does not want to be bothered with anything. That is Ronald Ulysses Swanson. So now let's start to talk about the fall of the mustache and facial hair in general. So we saw at the end of the 19th century a stronger association of what caused infections. Germs, all of a sudden, Pasteur and everything that we're seeing, we are aware that you've got to maintain cleanliness, and beards were seen as unclean. Seriously, in New York, 1902, milkmen all of a sudden have to get rid of their whiskers and be clean shaven. Notice I didn't say completely shaven. I said clean shaven. King Gillette, 1904, all of a sudden starts making these razors more available. And we see hospitals throughout the UK basically tell their doctors, workers, everyone needs to be clean shaven for the patients. Men are creatures of habit. They did not want to give up their facial hair. And in 1910, we still saw almost 75% of men sporting beards, mustaches, and the like. That being said, new habits can be formed, especially when you join the military. 1914, the Great War starts, and all of a sudden, we have gas being used. So gas masks are issued. And guess what? If you've got a beard, you cannot get a great seal with a good gas mask. And most of the gas masks were not that great. So you wanted to make sure that you were shaven so that you could get some protection from that mustard gas or whatever it may be. And guys, it was something that regulations came down. Hey, you got to be completely shaven. Now, officers and certain levels of enlisted men were actually allowed to maintain, guess what? A mustache, well trimmed within regs. And all of a sudden, we saw the rise of the mustache. And this is when we had peak mustache, because you could actually still have something that was masculine, something manly, that facial hair, but you just couldn't have the beard. Now, after the Great War, going through the 1920s, 1930s, this is when we saw the mustache come in its own. All of a sudden, you have all these men returning with these new habits, and guess what? They love that mustache. And for that 20 to 30 years, we saw the mustache just simply become one of the more dominant pieces. And that's why when we look at movies throughout that time period, pictures, any type of media, we see men in a variety of different mustaches. Pencil thin mustache, thicker mustaches, but mustaches are all over the place. And the loser here was the beard. Yes, the beard started to make a comeback in the 1920s, but it faltered off, and all of a sudden you saw fashion trends. You saw the rise of Hollywood. You saw all these actors, all of these people that we're looking up to are wearing mustaches, not beards. And all of a sudden that became the fashion trend, something that not only the younger guys were doing, but some of the older guys were trying as well. All that being said, facial hair in general continued to decline with the proliferation of the safety razor, a huge improvement from the straight razor, which is beautiful but can be dangerous, especially in a guy that doesn't know how to use it. All of a sudden, shaving was easy, and we continued to see not only the mustache decline, but the beard and deft sideburns completely disappeared as a style. And World War II didn't help any. Again, the regulations kicked in. Different services had different regulations, but usually when you're going through boot camp, guess what? No facial hair at all. And again, men are creatures of habit, and we can develop new habits, especially when you've got a drill instructor yelling at you. And all of a sudden, you know what? You go 3 to 4 years shaving every single day or when you can, and all of a sudden you get used to it. This becomes your new look. You get out of the military in the 1940s, 1950s. All of a sudden, it is the decade, the years of conforming to the fashion, to the times. And this takes us to the 1948 election, very close between Dewey and Truman. Right here, you've got pictures of the two candidates, and guess what? It was Dewey's mustache, according to some researchers, why a number of women did not vote for him, and possibly men. But the reason being is that many women felt that this was a guy that was stuck in tradition. He was not going to be sensitive to women's issues. And that takes me to the next reason, which I know will be somewhat controversial, but that is because of the demands of women. And this is something that's interesting because you read any of the Cosmopolitans, any of the books, even today, they talk about, can a man look good, sexy in a mustache? And a lot of women are all over the place on this. If you listen to them, you are in trouble because they're going to say, yeah, a guy can pull it off if he does the right look. Otherwise, it is horrible. Now, that type of research I wouldn't listen to, but they do have a point that Howard Taft was the last president elected that had a mustache. No president since then has had a mustache because research does show that women feel a guy with facial hair, he may come off as more masculine, but guess what? He also seems less attuned to their issues. So it's safe to say politicians took note. And when you got the guys at the top not wearing beards, not sporting mustaches, all of a sudden, guess what? We start thinking, we see the fashion trends, you see everyone else stop sporting mustaches and beards. Now, of course, there are guys that buck the trend. 1980, you got Freddie Mercury sporting his mustache and everyone's complaining. There were all of these women saying, oh, I hate the look. I mean, jokes on them, right? And Freddie Mercury. But point being is that he's like, I don't care. I'm wearing this for myself. In fact, in a concert, he asked people what they thought. He got, some jeers. He got some, yells. And he's like, I don't give a damn what you think. I'm going to wear it for me. You've also got Anthony Kiedis, the frontman for Red Hot Chili Peppers. Did I pronounce his name correctly? If I messed it up, let me know in the comments. I love that band. But in 2011, he started sporting a mustache, and they started like a petition online. A lot of women saying, hey, he's got to get rid of it. And he's like, he just thinks of it as a joke. He's going to do what he wants to do. And this takes me to the next reason why facial hair, and the mustache in particular, has become almost extinct. And that's because it seems like society villainizes the wearing of it. Seriously, the words porn stash, and even worse, pedostache, all that implies that you're some type of sexual deviant if you're wearing a mustache. In fact, those two words right there are going to be more familiar with people than the actual proper names of mustaches. Seriously, pop quiz right here. What is this particular style of mustache? Do you know? This is called the chevron. All right, so I'm going to throw you guys an easy one. You've got to know this one. Come on, look at, this one is the handlebar. And this one right here, I mentioned earlier, not as popular nowadays, actually seen as evil. I don't know for why. Right here, we've got the pencil. Well, actually, maybe we do know why. The author of 1,000 Mustaches, he talked about the history of the mustache, especially in Christian religion, and how it was associated with the devil. So the popular image of Satan was depicted off of the Greek god Pan, who had a pencil-thin mustache. In addition, think of all the villains you've seen as a kid that are depicted with mustaches, especially in the case of twins. How do you differentiate the bad twin from the good twin? You give the bad twin a mustache. How do you identify the bad guy? He's got that, that skinny mustache. He's got that Russian accent. Yes, being married to a Ukrainian, she has noted that almost all bad people in movies seem to have some type of Slavic accent. And let's not forget about all the sexual deviants, especially in the 1990s, 2000s. And just look at Napoleon Dynamite. You got Kip, you got Uncle Rico, both of them sexual deviants, and they got those mustaches. Yeah. That being said, if coach had put him in the fourth quarter, he would have won that game. They would have won state, and he would have thrown that football over that mountain. So this next reason why mustaches have disappeared, I really haven't seen anyone talk about, and I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments below. But my thoughts, and this is based off some 1989 research that showed that men in more masculine environments, basically surrounded by all men, they're more likely to have facial hair because they want to exert dominance over other men, not because it's going to be attractive to women. So as more women entered the workspace, especially in teaching spaces, all of a sudden you had just tons of women. And because there were less men, you didn't have to sport any type of facial hair, no mustaches or anything to exert dominance, because simply you just being a man, all of a sudden that was enough to actually show who you were, versus, again, around other men. Now, this point's important because a lot of guys think that facial hair, mustaches, beards, that they wear them because they want to attract women. Well, here's the thing is women, there are some women that are drawn definitely to mustaches and facial hair. But in general, women look at a number of factors, and they look at your rank in the hierarchy. That's one of the biggest factors they look at, your ability to provide based off of how other men treat you. And to further back this up, they did the survey of 6,000 men, and they found that men with mustaches on average made 8.2% more than men with beards, and over 4% more than men that were clean shaven. Now, gentlemen, if you're watching this video thinking, hey, I'm going to grow a mustache, I want to look better, I want to be more handsome, then you need to check out today's sponsor, Vitamin. Seriously, gents, these are our starter kits. If you're 45 and single wanting to take better care of your skin because, hey, you want to look good for the ladies, we've got you covered. If you're 25 and taken, but you just want to have thicker, fuller hair because it's thinning a bit prematurely and you don't want to put drugs in your body, we've got you covered with our thinning hair kit. If you're in your 30s dealing with dry hair, if you're in your 50s dealing with oily hair, guys, I've got the perfect kits for you. I back everything up with a money-back guarantee. You've got issues, you come to me. I stand behind every product we sell, leveraging our natural and organic ingredients from the Australian outback. Now, this deal, gents, is not going to be around forever. Make sure to use that link. Go over to Vitamin. Again, this is my company, so I make sure you guys get the best deal on the web. Use this link. Go check them out. Awesome company. Hey, it's mine, so of course I'm proud to support them. So why did mustaches disappear? Because over the last 150 years, so many factors have conspired against them. Laws banning the mustache and facial hair. Women actually saying, you know what, this isn't a preference of mine. I'm not going to vote for you if you're wearing a mustache. All of a sudden, fashion trends start to go against this. We see the guys at the top sporting that clean shaven look. So guess what? We follow suit. And if you try to buck the trend, if you decide I'm going to wear a mustache no matter what, guess what? You are portrayed as the villain, as the bad guy, as the perv. All that being said, if someone were to ask me, should I grow a mustache? My answer would be Yes, because there is so much good. And when you think about it at the base level, the whole idea here is interpretation and people pressing their views on something as simple as facial hair under the nose. Because if you think about it in its basest sense, when you choose to grow a mustache, you are making a choice. The majority of us that shave our entire face, we're conforming to a fashion trend. But anyone that's grown a beard, anyone that's grown any type of facial hair can tell you, when you make this choice, you're going to have some people in your life that are going to be against it, other people that are going to support you, half-ass, other people that are going to, a few that are going to say, welcome to the club. But at the end of the day, you are making a choice about how you present yourself to the world. In a nutshell, gents, I think mustaches are as nuanced as the men who wear them. Opting to wear a mustache, you are opting to be remembered. You're opting to stand out. You've made a choice that this is who I am and this is what I stand for. And I think that's a great thing. When you decide, you know what, I'm going to be looked over. And that's better than being overlooked. And yes, of course, some people that don't know you may find it creepy. Some people that know you may actually not like it. But if you can wear it with confidence, I think you'll be cool, collected. Yeah, you could even be captivating. All right, Jen, so what video to watch next? How about why did men stop wearing capes? Seriously, what happened here? Why did we give up on the cape? They're absolutely beautiful. The Marine Corps boat cloak, it makes an appearance in this video. If you're interested, check it out, guys. It is, I think, a really interesting video. Yeah, it's a good one. Go check it out. I got to be careful of my smile. It just feels weird with this.